What's up everyone, welcome to a brand new Dragon Ball What If story. This time we're covering one that has been requested quite a lot. It's a story based on a what if from Budokai Tenkaichi 2 called Fateful Brothers. I've wanted to do this one for a while as my own take of what if Raditz turned good. Right now I'm thinking about just doing two parts of it, since usually the ones I do based on video games are normally just one-shots. But I'm not entirely opposed to continuing this one, and let's try to get this video to 5,000 likes, so I know that you guys want me to continue it.
Fateful Brothers, What If Raditz Turned Good? The Saiyans, a mighty race of alien warriors, were forced to work as planet brokers for the evil tyrant Frieza, until the Emperor's fear of a legend foolishly caused him to wipe out nearly the entire race. Even so, without the Saiyans, Frieza keeps a stronghold on the galaxy. One of the only surviving Saiyans, a low-class fighter named Raditz, has made his way to Earth. His one goal is to find his long-lost brother and recruit him into the Force. However, an unexpected turn of events changes the trajectory of the Dragon World. In a battle that should have been his assured victory against Piccolo, Raditz's memories flee from his mind. His mission forgotten, the Saiyan soon finds himself enjoying the company of a new family. But with his memories slowly returning and the threat of the Saiyan Prince Vegeta's imminent arrival to Earth, Raditz must now make a choice.
Raditz clicks the side button on his scouter as he has done so thousands of times before. It was instinct at this point. The machine would pinpoint the exact location of his brother, Kakarot. The last time he saw him, Kakarot was just a newborn. According to his mother, Gine, he had been sent off to a far-off planet named Earth on a mission. A month after he got that call, his father, mother, and nearly every Saiyan perished as a meteor struck that planet. He was considered one of the lucky survivors, taken in by Frieza and his men. He was expected to be thankful, to pay his dues. He had tried to do that, but deep down he hated it. He hated owing his life to another. He wasn't vocal about it, but his commander, the fearsome King Vegeta, freely spoke his mind, even to his superiors. He didn't like Frieza, he made that apparent, but Frieza didn't care. It seemed like he had a special liking for the prince, almost as if he was an amusing pet. Raditz kept that to himself though. That was always Raditz's role in life, to stay quiet, to serve his overlord, and to listen to Vegeta. It had been a long time since he ventured by himself. He had almost forgotten what it was like to be alone with his thoughts, and to not have that oaf, Nappa, commenting on every little thing. The scouter bleeped positively, as it detected a strong power level, 322. Well, not that strong. Kakarot was a low-class warrior, but that was just pathetic. Raditz quickly headed towards the signature, surprised to find that it was in fact not a Saiyan. It wasn't even a human, it was a Namekian. That made more sense. Namekians were stronger than humans, but he didn't belong here. The green man didn't take kindly to the disturbance, demanding to know who he was. Raditz chuckled. He could kill him in a single blow here, but why not have some fun? Raditz kneeled down to the soil, placing a single bean on it that quickly sprouted into a small green being.
Be careful. They're even more vicious than they look. What are they?
With a warning, the Cyberman sprinted towards Piccolo with speeds the Namekian had never seen before. He barely managed to move out of the way to dodge an attack. It was obvious that this was a mindless creature, attacking with little care or technique. Piccolo could do little more than avoid attacks as much as he could, striking whenever there was an opening. Thanks to his cunning, Piccolo was able to damage the Cyberman somewhat, gaining special advantage when he realized that neither Raditz nor the creature could detect them, as he used After Image to disappear and catch his breath. Raditz was getting tired of it, yelling at the Cyberman to stop playing and kill him. The Cyberman was desperate and was willing to risk it all to win. In a last-ditch effort, he jumped towards Piccolo with his claws out, but Piccolo once again used his After Image, only this time it was right in front of Raditz. The Cyberman latched onto his master as Piccolo took the chance to charge in with a kick against the Cyberman and Raditz. But as he zoomed towards them, his eyes widened. A giant, powerful explosion emanated from the Cyberman's body, hurling the Saiyan and the Namekian to opposite ends. Piccolo was severely injured, though he was just far away enough to not be killed. Piccolo could barely stand as he watched bits of the Cyberman dispersed all over the battleground. leaving nothing but a crater and Raditz's twitching, unconscious body. Piccolo approached carefully, sensing that his ki was depleting rapidly. That explosion would have killed him if he was only a few inches closer. This man was incredibly strong. Piccolo didn't have the strength to finish him off, nor could he wait there for his power to replenish and risk the Saiyan waking up. He had to retreat and recuperate. Piccolo could only hope that the Saiyan would die from his wounds. As soon as he healed himself, he'd go find Goku and tell him about the Saiyan. Perhaps together, they could defeat him. For Raditz, there was nothing but emptiness. It was quiet. Where was he? Who was he? Slowly, things began to come into view. He saw the figure of a man he recognized as his father. His back turned to him, but slowly things came into view, but they were blurry. He knew his name was Raditz, and he remembered his parents, Gine and Bardock, but that was it. Where was he from? Why was he there? It was scary. As he drifted through darkness, a light awoke him. Huh? Where am I? Having hit his head, Raditz's memories were lost, his mission forgotten. He began to wander the earth. As he speeds away, he realizes that, though he cannot remember much, he does remember some abilities. He can fly, he can blast. But why? What were these skills used for? His scouter bleeped again, signaling a power nearby. This device was strange to Raditz, but whatever he came here for, it must be pointing him towards his goal. Perhaps he would find answers there. Meanwhile, at a remote island, Son Goku enjoyed a happy reunion with his old friends, Roshi, Bulma, and Krillin. They were surprised to see that the Earth's once greatest champion was a father now to a kid named after his grandfather, Son Gohan. The celebration seemed to be off to a good start when Goku jolted back. There was an immense power coming towards them. Raditz, realizing that the scouter was pointing him to a house, quickly lands at the beach. Was this his home? Sad. He had hoped that he'd have a cooler place. He must be very eccentric.
What? Father?
Huh?
Father? You mean Goku?
Krillin, who had just found out about Gohan, couldn't believe that Goku had another kid, especially one who seemed older than he was. Did he adopt one? As he was about to comment on this, the bald man heard a scream coming from behind. Bulma had been startled by the sudden appearance of an old enemy, Piccolo.
So, you're still alive.
Piccolo!
Piccolo, having recovered from the battles against the Saiyans, arrived to warn Goku about his impending arrival. Clearly, he had been too late. The only way to defeat him now was if they all teamed up, and ensured he would not cause any more trouble to Earth. But as Piccolo began to explain his previous altercation, Raditz interrupted.
Help me!
Stop, Piccolo! He's too weak to fight you. See? He's scared.
Piccolo, assuming that Goku had in fact been in league with this tailed freak, resorted to activating his battle stance. It would be difficult to battle both, but he couldn't pass up a rematch against Goku.
Fools, have it your way. I'll just have to fight you instead.
With that, the air around them crackled with energy. Goku took a defensive stance, ready to protect Raditz, while Piccolo's fingers began to dance in intricate patterns. Goku's movements were fluid, his strikes were focused and fierce. Raditz, still shaken by his memory loss, watched in awe as Goku defended him. Despite his fear, he felt an inexplicable sense of trust towards the Saiyan who stood his ground. Krillin even grabbed him and dragged him inside Kame House for safety. Piccolo, however, was relentless. He unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, forcing Goku to remain on the defensive. Explosions rocked the island as Goku deflected the attacks. With a burst of speed, Goku closed the gap between them and delivered a thunderous blow at Piccolo's abdomen. The Namekian staggered back, momentarily stunned by the unexpected force. Who was the man he was defending? But Piccolo was not one to be underestimated. Gathering his strength, he unleashed a blast, catching Goku off guard. He wanted to use the technique he'd been developing to use against Goku, but that man was way too fast. He wouldn't have time to charge it up. The impact sent Goku hurling backwards, crashing into the sand. Raditz, witnessing Goku's determination and bravery, was inspired. His fear began to wane, replaced by a sense of duty. Krillin tried to yell at him to get back into the house, but Raditz was determined. Goku saw the fire in those eyes. If he wanted to help, then so be it. Goku looked at Piccolo, rushed behind him, and kicked him towards the home, while charging up a Kamehameha. Raditz, almost as of instinct, charged up a purple key ball in the palm of his hand. Man, this Saturday sure did crush. he thought to himself. As Piccolo was about to reach the Saiyan, Piccolo spun in midair to blast the Raditz, unaware of the incoming Kamehameha from behind. Piccolo was blasted as Raditz unleashed his own beam. Piccolo was crushed in the middle, falling to the floor. As the smoke cleared, Piccolo realizes that he's being stared down by Raditz, Krillin, and Goku. Piccolo wasn't stupid. He knew when he'd been defeated. The wounded Piccolo had no options but to retreat.
You'll pay for this, Goku. I'll kill you!
The Namekian speeds off, as Goku's face turns from one of serious determination to a smile. He turns to the stranger.
Hey, are you okay? Don't worry, I'll get him back someday.
Bartok?
Hey, Goku. I think he's lost his memory.
There was a solemn silence. Who was this man? Why was he so strong? And why did he think Goku was his father? Bulma and the others turned to look at Goku for guidance, but his goofy smile never wavered.
Oh well, we'll let him rest a bit. It'll come back to him sooner or later.
Oh man, laid back as usual.
Raditz couldn't stop staring at Goku. He did look like his father, but there was something off. There was a lack of anger in those eyes, only excitement. Even so, Raditz was in no position to say no. He needed to rest, and he needed food. Thankfully, Bulma had packed food for everyone in capsules, and the celebrations resumed. It was a feast like Raditz had never seen before, or at least couldn't remember seeing. The Z crew asked him many questions, with only having a couple of answers. He knew his name, Raditz, and he knew his parents. When Krillin pointed out his tail, Raditz was confused about why they didn't have any. The rest turned to Goku once more, remembering his childhood tale. Perhaps their connection was deeper than anticipated. As the night wore down, Roshi tasked Goku with taking care of the man. If their tale links them together, then it's probably best he stays with them. Raditz looked down at the young kid Gohan, but he simply hid behind his father, afraid of the large man. Raditz forced a smile, being taken aback by the realization that Gohan too had a tail. He tried to laugh with the boy about this, but he was painfully shy. Goku called down the flying Nimbus, ready to return home, and invited Raditz to come along too, only to have him fall right through it. Raditz was confused, as Goku explained that only the pure of heart could ride it. Bulma and Krillin tried to console the man by saying not to worry. They all have perverted thoughts from time to time. Bulma did Goku a solid though, and took Raditz home, after making him promise not to try anything funny, even if he was her type. Chi-Chi wasn't exactly the biggest fan of having a random homeless man in her home, but Goku explained that it was only temporary. After seeing his tail, she asked if he was Goku's brother or something, which Goku laughed at. That night, Raditz had the first good night's sleep in a decade, even if he didn't know it. The next day, Goku woke up first thing in the morning to do what he does best: train. After having some delicious Paozu cooking, Goku convinced Chi-Chi to let him take Gohan out to gather some supplies, alongside Raditz. But secretly, he hoped that watching him and Raditz train might spark up something within the child. The Saiyans clashed overhead, as Goku told Raditz that he's incredibly powerful, and his technique could be great, but he lacks discipline. And he's kind of a coward. He's scared of everything. He's scared of fighting him, but Goku promised that he's not gonna hurt him. It seemed like sensing ki wasn't something he was very familiar with. Perhaps that could be one of the first things they work on together. Gohan was in awe. He'd never seen anyone fight the way they did. Raditz was even giving his father a hard time. This went on for a few days, with Gohan finally joining in during some sessions. Just the basics, nothing that would make Chi-Chi worry. Gohan was crazy strong though when he put his mind to it, or when he got angry. There were times where he actually worried Raditz would severely hurt his father, to which he actually defended him, and sometimes even hurt Raditz a little bit. But Raditz took it in stride. That was actually kind of fun. He chuckled as he fired purple blasts at Goku down below, which Goku struggled to push back to such a degree that he had to spin and punch it out of the way, and allow the blast to fire off into a mountain, exploding it into smithereens. Goku gulped. If he hadn't been there to redirect the attack, then Earth would surely be in trouble. They had a lot to work on.
Unbelievable! Why do I have such power?
I guess the next time a bad guy comes along, you'll be able to take care of yourself.
You think so?
That day, after a long sparring session, Goku, Raditz, and Gohan had a picnic with some packed lunch Chi-Chi made for them. There really is nothing like Paozu cooking, Raditz commented as he placed his scouter on the picnic cloth. For some reason, he always felt naked without it, though Goku told him to stop relying on it. Raditz began to ask questions about his new home. What was up with the talking turtle? Why don't the others have tails? Who was the green guy? Do they have Disney Plus? Goku realized that it was probably about time he told Gohan and Raditz about his past adventures. He explained everything: the 7 magic Dragon Balls that grant any wish, his quest to stop the Red Ribbon Army, the death of Krillin at the hands of Piccolo and his men, the way the Dragon Balls were restored, reviving Krillin and the others, and his training with Kami. Finally, he told them about his victory over Piccolo Jr., and how he really wasn't as bad of a guy as his father was. That's when a thunderous voice was heard from behind.
This time I'm gonna finish you off!
A cold sweat dropped down Raditz's spine.
He's back!
Don't let him scare you. You can take him. You're not a weakling anymore, remember?
Weakling. Weakling. That's right! I'm Raditz, and I'm no weakling!
His aura pushing Goku and Gohan back, his entire mass crushing the Namekian against the rock formation before being dragged down to the water. Piccolo tried to recover, exploding his energy to push Raditz off, vaporizing the water around him as he extended his arms, pulling Raditz back to him and slamming his head against the enemies. Piccolo opened his mouth to fire a mouth beam at close range, but to his surprise, Raditz did the same. The mouth beams exploded in the middle, severely damaging both fighters, but more so Piccolo. Raditz didn't have the scouter on. He was blinded, as Piccolo used his ki sensing to his advantage. From the crater, multiple Piccolo clones rushed forward, but Raditz handled them with ease. However, Goku noticed something was wrong. Piccolo was no fool. That technique cut his power. What was his plan? Piccolo's clones seemed to slowly lead Raditz somewhere, as they finally met in the middle, uniting again with the main Piccolo. Goku yelled at him to dodge out of the way, but it was almost too late. As Raditz turned around to look at the Saiyan, a piercing pain burst through his arm. Sorry to keep you waiting. Makanko Zapo! Raditz's arm was nearly obliterated as he held it in pain. If it hadn't been for Goku, he would certainly be dead. Piccolo cursed. He was sure he had gotten him. He would just have to try again. Once more, Piccolo's clones appeared, but this time Raditz knew the trick. Goku yelled from the sidelines to sense, not see. Raditz took a deep breath, and to Piccolo's surprise, dodged all of the attacks, ignored all the clones, and found the original. Powered by sheer anger, Raditz burst to Piccolo and kneed him in the stomach, launching him up to the sky, and fired a one-handed blast at the Namekian. The rest of the clones faded back into Piccolo as he laid on the ground unconscious.
Incredible! I did it! I did it, Kakarot! I won!
Yeah, but my name's Goku, though.
Right, time to finish this.
Raditz took slow steps towards Piccolo's body, an immense lust for blood washing over him, the sound of his own blood dripping to the ground from his arm, being a reminder that yes, this Namekian had to die for his insolence.
That's enough, Raditz. He's learned his lesson.
But it's kill or be killed!
Goku stepped up to the Saiyan, locking eyes with him, shrouded by deep disappointment.
Is that what you really think? If you act like that, you're no better than he is.
Raditz saw a flash before his eyes, as Goku stared him down, an image of a man with a scar on his cheek, a man he once looked up to. Raditz looked away. What had come over him? He was no killer, was he?
You're right. It's as you say, Goku. I shouldn't abuse my power.
Goku's look turned back into his typical goofy smile, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder as Gohan moved in front of his line of sight and smiled at him. Goku promised Raditz that they continued to work out some other time. There was still much he had to teach him. Plus, he wanted to get to his level too. Goku, Raditz, and Gohan began to fly away, but Raditz couldn't help but look back at Piccolo, who had now stood up. His eyes were piercing. It was as if he knew something Raditz himself didn't know. Without a word, Piccolo turned back and disappearing, leaving Raditz wondering if he'd ever see him again. Thus, more months passed by. It had been nearly a year since Raditz arrived on Earth, and he had become accustomed to it. Goku had allowed Raditz to live at Grandpa Gohan's old home until Bulma could find him a place to live. He'd taken great liking to the world, and that mountain. He would often explore, sometimes with Gohan, sometimes by himself. It was peaceful. That was until he found something that bothered him. Deep in the forest, while trying to find a meal, he discovered a patch of land that had been destroyed long ago by an object, a white space pod of some kind. At first, he didn't think anything of it, but he continued to revisit it over and over again. It looked so familiar to him. Should he tell Bulma? She knew what it was, but all it did was make him angry. He would get flashes of various things, horns, giant monkeys, and the same scarred-faced man and a prince. He couldn't piece it together, but all it did was make him angry. That night, he had another dream. A scarred-faced man. He told him to pick himself up, that he's not a weakling, but it soon changed into a nightmare. That face changing into Nappa's, Vegeta's, Frieza's, beating him to a pulp, telling him to stay down. This recurring nightmare felt like his only connection to his past life. He would go on to have that nightmare several more times, never knowing who those people were, except for his father, Bardock, the only one telling him that he's not a weakling. The following day, as Raditz sat outside by the fire, little Gohan came running up by the mountain, enthusiastically. The two had agreed to train and catch fish together, as well as find some bugs, while Goku and Chi-Chi were grocery shopping. Raditz smiled brightly at Gohan, whom he'd come to care about very much. The two had an interest in insects, one of the few things he could remember about his past life. Once long ago, he enjoyed that sort of thing, and Gohan taught him a lot about it. Raditz's tail flapped in the wind, as did Gohan's. With a bright smile, Gohan said,
You have a tail, just like me.
Oh yeah, guess so.
Yeah, so I heard that my dad used to have one too. We're like the same.
Gohan's laugh echoed in his mind, taking him back to a different place. One where his mother's laugh sounded just like that. One where his brother...
Kakarot. Also, it reminds me of something.
Hey, are you okay?
Raditz quickly snapped out of it, his vision slowly becoming clear again. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, time to train, Gohan. Gohan looked at Raditz nervously. He was imposing, as his tail wrapped around his waist. Raditz stood up, signaling for Gohan to come along.
Right.
On the mountainside, Gohan and Raditz bowed at each other, one of the many things Goku had taught the both of them. This signified the start of an honorable fight, though Gohan was more interested in the bugs they'd catch later on. This was admittedly pretty fun too. Raditz initiated the spar, throwing a casual punch at Gohan. Gohan countered with a series of quick jabs and kicks, but Raditz parried each move with surprising agility. Gohan's eyes widened as he realized his mentor was holding back immense power. As the spar intensified, Raditz unleashed a rapid flurry of punches, forcing Gohan to block and dodge. Gohan's youthful energy fueled his determination, and he launched a powerful energy blast, which Raditz effortlessly deflected with his palm. The force of the explosion sent shockwaves through the landscape, but they just continued the battle untethered. Gohan did realize that Raditz started slowly going harder at him, but Gohan's true power remained dormant until a fierce blow pushed Gohan into a wall. Raditz was unrelenting. Finally, Gohan's dormant strength exploded, the wall of rock behind him crumbling and surprising the Saiyan. His body crackled with electrifying energy as he darted towards Raditz, delivering a series of lightning-fast kicks and punches. Raditz was momentarily stunned by Gohan's newfound power, but he wasn't about to give up. Gohan screamed out a thunderous roar, a roar that reminded Raditz of something. The red flash in those eyes, the power he held. Gohan unleashed a devastating energy wave, but the Saiyan warrior smirked, countering the attack with his own energy sphere. The two collided, shaking the ground beneath them. Smoke and debris filled the air, obscuring their vision. When the dust settled, it was clear that this time Gohan's power had prevailed. That power boost was incredible. As Raditz laid on the ground, somewhat wounded, he began to have more and more flashes. As Gohan approached his fallen mentor, something inexplicable happened. Raditz's Saiyan instinct, long suppressed, awakened in a surge of raw power. With a fierce battle cry, Raditz rose to his feet, his eyes blazing with primal fury. He delivered a crushing punch to Gohan's chest, sending the young warrior flying backwards. The force of the blow left Gohan gasping for air, struggling to remain in composure. Raditz was back to his senses though, and he stared down at Gohan with regret in his eyes. He never meant to hurt the boy, but something had taken control of him in the heat of battle. He quickly descended and kneeled by his young friend. To Raditz's surprise, the kid stood back up. He really was tougher than he looked, but his mother would certainly kill Raditz now. After all, she was the only person Goku feared. What unimaginable power could she be hiding?
No! Are you alright, Gohan?
What?
I'm sorry.
I'm okay. I'm used to training pretty hard with my dad, so...
But the roar of Gohan continued to echo in the mind of Raditz, spiraling throughout. The sound, he'd heard that before. It was the roar of an Ozaru. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. His eyes jolted open as he saw more of what he'd forgotten. A red planet, its people, being sent out to kill others. Vegeta, Nappa, their tails, a full moon. They were...
Remember now, Kakarot and I, we're all Saiyans.
What's wrong?
Raditz balled up his fist by his side, clenching so hard that blood began to drip. He remembered now. He remembered everything. He knows what he has to do. He knows what he needs to do.
I am the Saiyan. Raditz.
Raditz turned away from Gohan. He couldn't look at him in the eyes, but he had a mission to accomplish. If this planet had to die, then it had to die. The mere idea of that hurt him to the core. Without turning back, Raditz told Gohan to call Nimbus and go home. There's something he needs to do. Raditz speeds off, leaving Gohan confused and concerned. Raditz in the meantime went back to Grandpa Gohan's home. He sat alone, contemplating what he'd just remembered. Those memories were real, but so were the past few months, the past year. But he couldn't just ignore his mission. He had to return to his squad. He walked outside, back to where he had found the mysterious pod. He knew now what it was. Kakarot's spaceship. No doubt, his brother's life changed because of where he landed. The man whose house he resided in now, Grandpa Gohan. It was his fault Goku... No. Kakarot had failed his mission. Raditz closed his eyes tightly, blasting at the space pod. The light of the attack consumed the area. Now Raditz stood on the crater. He had to go see Kakarot. Now. In the early morning, while Goku trained outside, Raditz landed, announcing that they needed to talk. Goku could tell that something was deeply wrong. Gohan had come home hurt. What was that about? Did Piccolo attack them? Goku and Raditz departed further away from home. He could smell Chi-Chi cooking inside. He loved that smell, but at that moment, it just made him nauseous. Taking a deep breath, Raditz explained it all. They were brothers, Kakarot and Raditz, two of the last remaining Saiyan warriors in the universe. Their mission was to pillage and conquer worlds for their overlord, Frieza. Earth was just one of the many planets in a long list of fallen worlds. Now it was their duty to do just that. They had wasted far too much time.
So you're my brother, and I'm one of these Saiyans, like you. But I'd rather die than kill innocent people and try to rule the world.
Raditz expected this, but it still hurt. However, he had convinced himself that this was what he needed to do. With a sullen voice, he spoke.
So, you're not going to do as you're told. In that case, you leave me no choice.
What are you saying?
In an instant, Raditz appeared before his brother, kneeing him in his stomach and making him stumble back. But Goku was much stronger than when he first arrived, and they had learned a lot from each other. This wasn't going to be an easy battle. Raditz wasted no time, lunging at Goku with blinding speed, fists crackling with energy. Goku met the assault head-on, blocking Raditz's powerful punches and kicks. As the battle raged on, Raditz's attacks grew more ruthless. He unleashed a barrage of energy blast, forcing Goku to weave and dodge with unparalleled energy. Goku continued with his own attacks, but Raditz deflected them effortlessly, the energy dissipating into the sky. With a swift kick to the abdomen, Raditz sent Goku soaring to the sky. He recovered, but Raditz pursued. In a final desperate bid to stop his brother, Goku fired a Kamehameha at Raditz. It hit its mark, sending Raditz to the ground, causing an explosion down below. Goku landed, hoping that his brother would come to his senses, but just then, Raditz appeared and slammed Goku to the ground, holding him by the neck. Just as it seemed that Raditz would deliver the final blow, Goku had nowhere to run. He couldn't escape the grasp, but just when it seemed as if Raditz would deliver the final blow, he hesitated. Conflicted emotions washed over him, and he couldn't bring himself to strike down his own flesh and blood. Goku's eyes were locked onto Raditz. The evil Saiyan's palm had stopped mere centimeters away from Goku's face, but Raditz simply dropped his hand.
Why? I am a Saiyan, one of the strongest warriors in the universe.
Goku could see the pain behind those eyes.
But you don't have to be evil. Just look at Gohan and me.
Raditz closed his eyes, as if looking at Goku was way too painful.
Shut up!
There's nothing to be gained by killing people. You should understand that by now.
Raditz's eyes bolted open again, his pain replaced by anger. The eternal struggle was killing him inside, his pride put into question.
I am a Saiyan! I will not give up my pride so easily.
Raditz slapped Goku away and blasted off into the sky, disappearing. Goku, extremely hurt, managed to dig himself out from under the rubble he'd been slapped into. But Raditz was certainly strong enough to kill him. He would have done it by now if he wanted to. It was clear that he cared for his brother. For Earth even. Goku needed to do something. He had to save Earth. And hopefully save his brother. But he couldn't do it alone. He'd have to get some help from old friends. And perhaps enemies. Rain poured down on Raditz as he placed the hand on his space pod. Even in just a few months, it was already being covered by moss, almost as if reflecting his soul. The Saiyan ship was becoming one with Earth, and he hated that. The door flung open, with Raditz sitting inside, in peace. The controls still worked, the communication system too. That's when he realized something. His scouter had been destroyed during his last battle against Piccolo, but Vegeta and Nappa had tried to deliver a message. In 1 year's time, they would come to Earth for those so-called Dragon Balls. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That was part 1 of What If Raditz Turned Good. It was a lot of fun trying to implement everything from the game into a story that made a little bit more sense. A huge thank you to Chris Diaz for helping me edit this one. And as always, a thank you to the patrons of the channel: Gerald Smith, Clay Stewart, Daniel Bell, Ooga Booga, Jake King, Dalen Kemmer, Softer Cat, Sowak Zurak, Ryan Hayes, Arvin Selman, Solid Duck, Evan the Flame, Faffin About, Kitsune Jester, Kaiju Monarch, Shadow Paradox, Eric Jenkins, Evan Webb Stewart, Lost Saiyan 997, Orange Crimsicle, Chris Macareno, Yomama 420, Mao Lick, Dad D, Cyber Samurai, Beastie Man 420, Faisal Alshref, Akko, D-Man for Life, Blaze 9526, Crazed PlayStation CK, Freeflow Highway, Mystic Angel, Shane K, True Lightning Striker, Ghost 1571, Kaiser Jirachi, D-Man Plays 22, Jim G, Jerome Foster, Salil Panjape, Keith Grimes, The Legendary Warrior, Dreadpool, and Samuel Randall. Recently, I started a What If series exclusively on Patreon that will be coming to YouTube later down the line. What If Goku Married Bulma? Part 1's already out, Part 2 should be coming this week or next week. And I've also started doing some short what if stories as audio dramas on Patreon. The first one is a short tale, which was actually a Patreon request. The Ozaru versus the Ninetales from Naruto. So if that interests you and you enjoy the channel, then consider becoming a Patreon. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed, and until we meet again, see ya!